Getting more Singaporeans to roll up their sleeves and get busy protecting their cultural heritage. The refreshed Heritage Masterplan hopes to do this when it's launched later this year by getting more to not just volunteer but also develop ideas with the National Heritage Board.
For many Singaporeans, it's no longer enough to stand by the sidelines when appreciating their multicultural heritage. The latest Heritage Awareness Survey shows nearly 3/4 of respondents take an active interest in understanding the cultural practices of other ethnic groups. It's a jump of 13 percentage points compared to 2018. NHB attributes it to the surge in digital content consumption during the pandemic.
Young people in particular, they are absorbing contents from all over the world, right? Not just by NHB, but also by the different museums, different institutions, obviously cultural institutions, and the different stories worldwide.
But rather than those with tangible value, like the Civilian War Memorial or former City Hall, supporting practitioners of intangible cultural heritage saw the biggest improvement, with 4 in 5 respondents expressing support. In fact, an overwhelming majority feel it's important for all Singaporeans to know their history and heritage. This includes their own cultural practices. The findings will help develop the next phase of Singapore's Heritage Masterplan.
We must look after the living cultural heritage of our own vibrant multicultural society, not just in words, but certainly in action and in deeds. And not just by simply preserving it in a vacuum, keeping the practices as they are, but to transmit it, to pass it on as a living expression of the wealth and diversity of our culture. And where necessary, to evolve it.
To help Singaporeans learn about their roots and global connections, the upcoming RSG Heritage Plan 2.0 will also include initiatives in archaeology. There will also be more museum offerings on fashion and technology, an opportunity for the public to uncover new aspects of their heritage.
And so how can the National Heritage Board build on the findings of this survey for the next lap of Singapore's heritage journey? We have NHB Director Marcus Chee with us and Dr. Anitha Devi Pillai, author, educator and community contributor for the Indian Heritage Centre. I'll start with you, Mr. Chee. We just heard that, the Heritage Survey, that shows a big jump in people wanting to actively be involved in our heritage in this country. And we heard from you in that package that the pandemic, what happened then, was a driver in this increase in interest. Now, post-pandemic, what can the NHB do?
I think, first and foremost, I think the survey results are very encouraging because it really tells us that Singaporeans are taking an active interest in heritage, right? And it's not just about understanding that heritage is important for the community to know our Singapore identity better, but also at a personal level, they find meaning and relevance to their own personal identity. While the offerings, when during the COVID pandemic situation, we went into a digital mood. As we progress out of the pandemic, we are moving back into the more physical realm, but not forgetting the digital offerings that we already have. So some of the initiatives that we have really have the digital twins or have the phygital elements where you have the physical enhanced by your digital offerings. So these are some of the initiatives that we've put in.
Yeah, that's interesting. Perhaps I can bring you in, Dr. Pillai, because some of the initiatives also include ethnic subgroups, if I'm not mistaken. And later this year, there's a special exhibition on Malayalis in Singapore. Now, you contribute actively to the Indian Heritage Centre. In fact, you've brought along a couple of artifacts and objects with you. Tell us about your role and how you're contributing to it.
So in the upcoming exhibition that's going to be launched in November, I'll be the guest curator. And I'll be drawing on my research and my findings that I've been doing for the last 10 years or so, more than a decade or so, to inform the exhibition as well as bring in community leaders and members of the community to contribute and be part of the exhibition.
Is that hard?
Indeed. Indeed, it is. But, you know, the wonderful thing is everyone wants to contribute, everyone wants to be and wants to be part of this journey, and everyone's excited.
When you say everyone, who's the everyone?
The community. So we've reached out to the community. We've had several conversations with them. We've had conversations with our community leaders and members of the community, and we've told them about the upcoming exhibition. And in fact, they are putting together programs. They are putting together, for the whole year. I mean, it's going to be a couple of months, almost a year. They're putting together programs, and they are looking up things and artifacts. And I went digging for an artifact in my own father's storeroom. And so everyone's looking for what have we missed and what have we kept, if we have kept things, and pulling out this information and collating it so that we can draw on it when we put the exhibition together.
So, Mr. Chi, you say now we're returning to the physical realm, nothing quite as physical as that object that we can see there. Museums have moved on a great deal since I was a child and went to them. How do you even rate? I mean, how does anyone develop exhibitions right now to make sure that they really do it? We keep on engage. How do you even measure engagement or decide this could be better done physically or digitally?
Well, I think by and large, people still appreciate the physical experience because it's quite different consuming digital contents as much as AR, VR can do. It's quite different when you visit the actual places, right? So what Dr. Anitha has brought, these are the kind of objects that we would like to encourage more community and individuals to put forth their objects, their stories, to co-create this whole heritage journey. And that allows us to reach out to more audience and also create greater relevance to them.
What is your strategy, or what is the SG Heritage 2.0 strategy? Because you say you want to ramp up volunteerism, you want to reach out to the community, increase their contributions, roll up our sleeves. So what in SG Heritage 2.0 addresses this? Because, as you alluded to earlier, it's not always easy. But Mr. Chi, for yourself, when you're talking about both tangible and intangible aspects of preserving the community, tell us how you plan to achieve this.
There are a few aspects to this, right? So if you look at the Heritage Awareness Survey, what we can see is that people recognize what heritage is, the multifaceted aspects of heritage, and they are willing to consume, to contribute towards heritage, right? And if you look at how we can galvanize them, it's really tapping on their momentum, the motivation that they have. Right? Then you look at the different programs to see how we can carve out the opportunities for them to do it. So it could be as easy as reaching out to them in our precinct developments when we run heritage exhibitions or events to involve and engage more communities to the process, to the organizing process. Or it could very well be just going out to promote your ICH practitioners to let them know, hey, instead of going to this area, how about checking out your local practitioners.
All right, final question for you, Dr. Pillay, and this really gets right back to what's on the table there. It could be far more interesting if you presented it in a way that somehow involved someone like me who knows nothing about Malayali culture. Very quickly, and you've got about 40 seconds, how would you do that to interest someone like me in that heritage?
These artifacts? Okay, so this is a para. It's traditionally used to measure paddy, and it's also something that we have as part of festivals as well as marriages. So my dad bought this, I think, when I was really young. Bought one each for my sister and me, and it was meant to be kept at the wedding. It was kept at the wedding with filled with rice as well as coconut flowers, and it was his gift to us. And then of course it was left in his home until I started on this project and I went looking for it. So it is something that we pass on to each generation, to the next generation. Now, had my mother been the oldest daughter and my grandmother been the oldest daughter, it would have come down. I would have had something from many, many generations ago, but we weren't. So we've got something from, that's only about 30 years ago. Yeah.
But still very special.
It is, because it's from a dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us this evening, Dr. Anitha Devi Pillay and Mr. Marcus Chi.
Thank you.